So welcome to Money Talk, and I want to welcome you with two very short stories and my experience. One of my friends, childhood friend, his father was one of Nigeria's earliest generals, and when his father died, I remember I flew into Delta, David Ejo. I was one of the generals during Murtala and Gowon, first commandant of, NDA and all that. So he was one of those first generation, became a general when many of these guys in their 30s, the first generation of generals after independence. So we went for his funeral. And he's my friend's cousin, my friend is his son, told us an interesting story. She was an AGM in a bank, right. So one day she was in a meeting in the bank, and her dad and her uncle called her that there's a problem or you need to come home. So she was concerned. She left her meeting in the bank and she went home, wondering, what the problem was. And so when she got back home, the general told her that she left her room without laying her bed. So she was shocked that I'm an AGM in a bank. This man doesn't think I'm. And then he said something that stayed with her. And she was one telling us at the funeral. He said, if you cannot manage yourself, you cannot lay your bed before you leave the house, how can you manage a bank? So he said to her, I don't understand this banking that you people are doing. The first rule is you have to manage yourself. Why did you leave your room like this? How many people you leave your room without laying your bed? So that principle, it always stays with me. Even when I want to leave my room today, and I won't leave my bed, I will remember what she said at that funeral. And she said it stayed with her, and that thing always stays with me. So one of the things we're going to learn today is around financial discipline. Money matters, a lot of it is around discipline. You have to manage yourself before you can manage a business. You have to manage yourself before you can manage even the church. Any organization has finances, right? So financial discipline, managing yourself, all right? That's the first thing we're going to do today. So we're going to hear from our panelists. You're going to have an opportunity to share your own experiences around just managing your finances. And we're going to learn and get equipped with tools today. The second thing that we're going to learn about today is around investments. And I want to also share a short story. So I think it was last month, I finished a meeting, and usually, I'm a consultant. So when we finished the meeting, the guy that chaired the meeting, I said, look, let me even bond with my client. So I went to his office, an executive director in the bank. So I'm sitting in his office, and he said to me, and we were talking about Nigeria, and he said to me, he doesn't have a problem with Nigeria, that as he is, he's making plenty of money. And that his own view is that it's always about, is it half full or half empty? And he said, then he shared a story with me. He said, look, he went for a party. And in the party, how you're socializing, one of his friends whispered, just said in passing that, this guy just brought in plenty of dollars into Nigeria. The guy is one of the oil and gas people. If I mention, which I won't do, you will know. So they own oil blocks. So they just brought in plenty of dollars for whatever reason. Maybe they sold something. Anyway. So he said the minute he got that information, the person just told him, how you say something in passing that this guy is now awash with dollars for whatever reason, whatever he sold or whatever, whatever it is. So he said he just took that information in that social event. And then he started asking people, I need to speak to this man. Why do you want to speak to him? He said, don't worry, I need to speak to him. Anyway, he finally got somebody that gave him his number. So he called the man. He said it took him less than 24 hours. They had the man's number. Called the man and said, look, introduced himself, I'm a director in my bank, blah, 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 blah. And that he just wants to help him, blah, blah, blah. You know the pitch? He made a pitch, 5 minutes pitch. The guy just said, I've heard. I know how big men behave. I just dropped the phone. Since he doesn't know the guy, you know. And then he says he will just follow up with a gentle, good morning, sir. You know, how are you today, sir? You know, that kind of, he knows he's a big man, can't be disturbing him. The guy won't respond. He says one day the guy just called him. Just gave me a call. He knew there was something. The guy just called him. He said, which bank did you say you are in? He said, he mentioned the name of the bank. He said, okay, I'm moving $200 million. Eh? $200 million. Here and it's empty. Next thing they went to go and in the days we're in. But why am I saying that story? Because people are still moving $200 million. You get what I'm saying? It's still flowing. And that's why we're here, you know. We want to learn about investments. Bible says that it was in a time of famine that Isaac sowed. And it was in the same year, the famine was still on. In fact, if you look at all these stories, Joseph's rising was in a time of... these cycles, they always come and go. In fact, I know many people that it was in a time of famine that they really rose, even in Nigeria, to prominence, because, you know. So, a big part of what we're going to take away from today also is that, you know, there are opportunities and there's money to be made. So I hope that, you know, as we go through this session today, you'll be engaged. We want to hear your stories, we want to learn from you, but we also want you to learn and take out tangible things from this session. All right? So we're looking forward to having a great time. So on that note, I'd like to welcome all of us. Thank you very much. So Money Talk by Men of Honor. Now, without further ado, we're going to bring up our first speaker. Our first speaker is going to be introduced in a minute, and then, you know, we'll bring him up to make a presentation. So we're going to start with a presentation, and then we will have a panel session. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, our first speaker is Mr. Tosin Oshukoya, as you've seen on the profile, an investment banker and tech investor, co-manages Commercial Partners Limited, a Pan-African investment banking firm, holding an executive MBA from INSEAD. His venture, like Envo 8 Solution, Bridge Finance and Technology seamlessly. His leadership extends to board roles, driving growth and social impact in diverse sectors. Let's welcome Mr. Tosin Oshukoya for his presentation. His Money Talk, please welcome him well, so he can tell us how the money talks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. What do I call you? Steven, thank you very much. I didn't get to meet you or introduce myself to you. Yeah, good morning, everyone. It's good to be here this morning. And I have just about 15 to 20 minutes to discuss with you my slide. And I also have some stories to tell, but maybe we'll talk about the story during the roundtable session. They are interesting stories, starting from the days of Daystar, particularly in 2004-05, when Pastor Boye was talking about rising during famine and sowing seed. I had a covenant with God. I'm not going to share it during this session. I'll share it during the roundtable session. Okay, see, you must understand that making money is not so difficult. I will not say it's easy, but it's not so difficult. There are certain principles that you must understand. God is a God of principles, not a God of religion. And God has laid that foundation For those of us who have tapped into those principles, it appears as if it's easy for us to make those money. It is not. But what we've decided to do is to judiciously follow those principles. And I'm going to take you through those principles. Living here today, you must begin to understand and begin to live those principles. These codes, if you spend your time chasing butterflies, guess what will happen? Huh? They'll fly. Or spend your time building a garden, butterflies will come. In fact, the more interesting thing is that you now sit in a garden. You enjoy the beauty of that garden. Let's go to the next slide. This slide is very, very key, and this is where the principle starts. See, there's a psychological part of money making, and there's a what? There's a philosophical side to it. The psychological side to money making. For those of us who like to read, I like to read. The Psychology of Money, go and read it. Get that book by Morgan Housel. Fantastic book. No, the next slide. This is what? Table of content. See, there are three ends that you must master. The first end is the master. The second one is your mind. The third one is what? Money. Master, you are the master. You are an extension of God on earth. You must understand that. The second M is your mind. God has given you a creative mind. In that mind, you have a talent, gifts. God has deposited in that mind. And God expects you to turn that mind into a money-making venture. These three M's, these are where the principles of creating wealth start from. And this is a representation of Matthew 25. For those of us who've read the parable of talents, the master, the mind. The mind was the reservoir of talent that was given to them. And the master expects them to turn that talent into money. And the last guy did not. You must understand these three principles. From money is a requirement from us. The requirement is we must make money, multiply the money, and what? Manage the money. Another 3M. The reason why I decided to use these letters is because I want it to stick in each and every one of us. Master, mind, and money. For those of us who like to read, go and read Mindset. Mindset by Carol Dweck. I like to read books. If you are not in the habit of reading books, please start reading now. See, wealth are actually hidden inside what? Books. There must be a philosophical way to you understanding money. And why do you want that money? So the right side of this presentation, these are the purposes that drive money making. For some of us, the reason why we want money is for safety. For some of us, it's for basic needs. For Dangote today, it's not safety. It's not basic needs. Guess what? It's self-actualization. Dangote is already at the peak. So you must understand that philosophical reason why you need money. Today, as you're seated, begin to ask yourself, why do you need that money? If you are still at the bottom of the pyramid, you are still scratching wealth creation, the purpose of wealth creation. For some of us, we are already at self-actualization. We're beginning to think about the legacy, why we're on earth. So, my point exactly is, as you think about these, you must understand that these drive what? These. If you don't understand this principle, then you are not yet able to master or make money. For some of us here, you cannot even fathom the capacity of $10 million. You'll be scared. You will not be able to wake up. Even $1 million. you will be unable to sleep. You know why? Because your mind hasn't gathered the capacity of $1 million. For some of us, $200 million is something that, yes, we can accommodate. Why? We've built our mind. We've strengthened our mind. We understand this principle that if you gave us 200 million, we know exactly what to do. So from today, begin to work on your mind. That is where the wealth is. If you don't work on your mind, you are not going to make money. The difference between a broke man and a wealthy guy or a rich guy is what? The ability to use your mind. The biggest asset that you have is not your bank account. The biggest asset that you have is your mind. Let's go to the next slide. I felt it was important for me to talk about this before we go into managing finances. If you don't understand that principle, you cannot go far. You can only make money that is not sustainable. Before you know it, it's gone. You ask yourself, why am I broke? It's because you've not understood the principle of money. Master, mind, money making. From money making, you make the money, you multiply, and you manage it. You must understand these systems. Wealth creation is driven by systems. Atomic Habits, James Clear, go and read it. You must understand that life is driven by habits, by systems. I thought about this, and you begin to ask yourself, where do I belong here? Please don't condemn me. If for some reason you're asking yourself to say, but I have 50 million now, why are you saying that I belong to lower class? By the time you dollarize it, you understand what I'm saying. I'm sorry. But we're having a conversation. The reason why we are here is to blow our mind up. So, if for any reason I put you in that category there, but I'm blowing your mind up, when you leave here today, I'm leaving you with a fire in your belly. And don't let that fire go deep. You must continue to fuel the fire. Go to the next slide. So we go to the next slide, we talk about managing your finances, especially in this inflationary period. Jim Rohn, I like to listen to Jim Rohn. Please note it down. Fantastic guy. Jim Rohn says, if you want to have more, you must become more. Still about your mind. If you want more money, you must become more. And he says that work hard on yourself much more than you work hard at work. Some of you guys, 9 to 5, you work hard at work. You don't work hard on yourself. Working hard on yourself means self-development. Outside of your discipline from school, is there any other skill sets you've acquired in the last, 5, 10 years? You need to continuously work hard on yourself. Recently, my discipline has always been investment banking, but I decided to move into tech. So I know all the software engineers where the dead bodies are hidden. And I know how to make money from tech now, but my discipline was never tech. The same thing with just sitting down in my house. I can make money on US equities, just sitting down. That skill set will be with me forever, even in my 70s. You know why? Because I've learned it, I've understood it, and I'll continue to deepen that knowledge. In your 70s, when most people are in old homes, or they are waiting on their children to take care of them, you are at the Bahamas just laying your legs off, looking on your screen and telling your brokers, do this, do that, or you do it yourself. Why? Because of the skills you've acquired over the years. So you must work hard on yourself. Debt management and expense planning. Inflationary period, please pay down your debt if you can. For those of you who are owing now, especially if those debts are attracting high interest rates, you cannot afford it. The high interest rate in Nigeria now is going to be for longer. For longer, I see it continuously happening for the next 24 to 30 months. Maybe 24 months. Why? Because the central bank needs to keep our currency at a particular level. If anything happens, maybe by God's grace, 2025, you begin to see a retracement of interest rate. But right now, not only even in Nigeria, globally, inflationary pressure is for longer. So let us just begin to embrace it. Expense planning. What are the things that you don't need or you continuously buy? Why? This is the belt tightening period. You need to cut down some expenses. You need to. I'm fond of, at a particular time or month, I go to buy some wares. I don't do that again. Why? You need to learn to save more. This is the period to save. You know why? Assets are cheap. This is the period people will begin to ask you to go and buy some assets. Assets are cheap. This is the period you need to gather cash. Cash is key now. You must have cash now. And we're going to talk a lot more about that. Diversification of portfolio. For those of you who have USD obligations, you need to begin to diversify your portfolio. If you don't have it, at some point you will have it. You know why? Your children are going to grow up in a competitive environment. Competitive, fiercely competitive. So you want good education for them. If you want good education for them, you need to start diversifying your portfolio now, away from NAIRA. You could start 80-20, 80 NAIRA, 20 USD. But with time, begin to shift it. 50-50. With time, you could even have it as what? 20-80. 20 NAIRA, 80 USD. If you don't, yes, NAIRA is at 1,000 now. But analysis that we've done, experiences we've done, 1,000 is something that is not sustainable. The CBN can fight, can do everything they can at the moment to address it and keep it at that level. Where you're competing with trading partners that are what? Producers. In this country, we are not producers. We are consumers. We are traders. That's why if you look at our GDP, trade and services, they contribute a lot more than agriculture. Actually, agriculture contributes maybe like 10-15%, but trade and services contributes what? Almost about 40% to your GDP. You know why? Every one of us here, we are traders. We import stuff and we sell it to the next person. Every one of us. In fact, it got to a stage that we are even trading currency. We were buying dollars to sell to the next person the following day. We are traders, we are not producers. And if you are not producers, we'll be at the beck and call of producers. Netherlands, China, Germans, Italians, all these guys, they are producers. South Korea won today is 1,500. Guess what? South Korea is one of the top 5 or top 10 exporters of so many equipment. And they are what? 1,500 to $1. You think you are going to stay at 1,000? No. You will touch 2,000, whether you like it or not, in the next 10 years. You can count my word on that. You know why? In 2010 or 2013, I joined RMB, Rand Merchant Bank, to set up their global market trading. My salary then was referenced to $150. Guess where dollar is now? So if I had stayed at, oh, give me NAIRA, don't reference it to dollar, and they were paying about 30-something million or 60-something million together with bonuses. By today's market, converted, that's 60K. A graduate in the US, MBA graduate in the US, at the minimum, 100 to 150. My daughter, she's in NYU. She was saying to me that, Dad, when I'm done with my economics and computer science, I'll be earning $150,000. I put my hand and say, do you know how much that is in Nigeria? Most bank MDs or most bank branch managers don't earn that. Diversification. Then you must follow the tide. There are signs. Those signs, once you know the principle I started out with, then there are signs that will tell you when money is about to be made. You must follow the signs. You must follow the signs. If you don't know, start reading. Go on YouTube. There are people on YouTube that they continuously speak about signs to watch out for when there's going to be a breakthrough. And I'll show you those signs. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are the signs. You will have a contractionary period. You have a recovery and you have a peak. Guess when is the best time for you to have cash? Now. If you have cash now and just invest in treasury bills, government securities, in 4 years, your money doubles. 4 years, your money doubles. You think it's going to be like that forever? No. In the next 2 years, or probably next year, by quarter 3, quarter 4, those yields, interest rate will begin to go down. You will not have that opportunity to make that investment. But you can only make that investment when you have cash now. So you must understand the signs. And we had an example in 2008. For those of us in 2008, if you're in this market, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Those signs will always repeat itself because market is in cycles. Next slide. I was going to talk about this, but we are all aware of Russia-Ukraine war and how that affected energy cost, food cost because of the disruption. Now we're going into what? We just woke up one day and we heard about Iran. So now it's Iran and Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to break this bad news to you. We are in for a long haul. My advice to you, keep your cash. Keep it either in USD or keep it in NAIRA, buy treasury bills, depending on your obligation. If you have dollar obligation, buy dollar, buy USDs, US treasuries, or look for Euro bond that you think that yes, the sovereigns are good. I'll talk about all of this. Or you look for US tech stocks when the price is right. In the last few days, those guys have nosedived. Nvidia, Tesla, Amazon, all of them, they've chopped serious koboko. And it's just the beginning of koboko. Next slide. I was going to share this, but I think we'll move on. When we observe market going down, there are certain stocks that at commercial partners we decided to invest in. The defense stocks. You know, when there's war, guess who benefits from it? The defense stocks. Because the government will continue to spend money for them to continue to build missiles, drones, and those guys will make more money from it. So it makes no sense. It makes perfect sense for you to go buy them. But there's some other stocks that their valuation would have been beaten so badly, you could invest in them in the US. In Nigeria, I'm coming into that. For those of us who do not have the capacity to invest in US, we could also invest in Nigeria. There are a couple of Nigerian stocks with good fundamentals. And I think that yes, hold your cash, the opportunity would come. Access is one. First Bank is one. The banking stocks, clearly, they will make money. The banking stocks now, and I don't have that data here, a good number of them are below their book value. You know what book value means? The book value means that the value of your balance sheet, the book that you've been carrying, relative to the price you're paying in the market. So you expect it to be 1. If it's below 1, that means it's undervalued. Now that they've been asked to go and raise capital, guess what would happen? A foreign investor that had $10 million would have more NAIRA to buy these banks. The bank owners will never allow that to happen. They need to protect themselves. And guess what? If you have cash, just go in and buy. When 2 elephants are fighting, it's the reverse. You will enjoy the money. You will enjoy the money. Next slide. Next slide. You can see this is a chart showing how NGX have moved after Tinubu came to power. It clearly confirms that yes, after unification of the currency, this thing went up. You know why? Because NAIRA is cheap now. Foreign investors are just looking for the right time to come into this country. They've started already, but they are in fixed income. But they are using their eye to look at the US equities. The reason why they've not really gone into the US equities is to the local equities is because of the FX situation. Once they see some level of stability in the FX situation, they'll begin to buy your shares. You know why? Your shares are very, very cheap. For Yoruba people, the way they call it, $10 million that you could use in buying those shares 2 or 3 years ago, you'll be buying more of those shares now. Why? Because you have more Naira with the same dollars. Let's go to the next slide. This is very instructive. You know, if you did not do anything 10 years ago and you kept your dollars in your pocket, 10 years ago, dollar was what? Maybe like 140. Yeah, in 2013 to 2014. If you kept your dollars in your pocket and you bring it out today at 1,200, this chart shows that year on year, there has been a 10% minimum. And you know what they say about the compounding interest? The compounding interest is the eighth wonder of the world. If you kept dollars in your pocket and you did not do anything with it, you will still be better off than buying anything in Naira. But of course, you can't keep dollars in your pocket now. You need to use that dollar for something. My point exactly is, if you see the pattern of this exchange, they said trend is your friend. What happened in the last 10 years would repeat itself in the next 10 years. So this is instructive for dollar assets. You might ask me that, Tosin, I don't have so much to buy dollars. I will say to you that just start small. Cultivate the habit of diversifying your portfolio. The only, outside of property development, and I'm going to talk about that during our roundtable session, outside of property development that has outperformed inflation, the only other asset class that will outperform Nigerian inflation is USD investment. USD investment. So if you want to outperform or you want to be above the inflationary period, you must begin to diversify into USD. If you're not doing that, then you go into what? Property development. See, it doesn't mean that these are the only two asset classes. It depends on where you are. Some people are into buying private companies. They buy private companies and sell in multiple times, 2x, 3x. For those of them who are at that level, they understand that buying investments or buying companies or investing in companies will yield them multiple income. So they are in a different world, and I don't want us to talk about that here. Next slide, please. I think I've talked about this, about the banking stocks, or the banking space, and how in the next few months to a year, the potential opportunities in that space. So, I've touched on a few of these places, but I want us to look at gold and oil ETFs. Some of us here might be confused and to say, what are you talking about, gold and oil ETF? If you can't buy gold, you buy gold ETF. You must look for an asset manager that can give you access to this. Accessibility is another thing that is very, very key, especially in a time like this. Gold has moved from 2,000 to 2,300. Trust me, that is still going to continue to rise. Why? Because gold is considered to be a safe haven. It's the same thing with USD. Oil will continue to enjoy the disruption, the geopolitical, tension, war. If you want to move into this space, please sit with an asset manager, an investment banker, to handhold you and take you through all of this. Please forgive me. 20 minutes will not cut it for me to begin to dissect what is happening and where to invest in. I will only just quickly touch on all of this. If you now have questions during the Q&A, maybe we can now dive deeper into it. Otherwise, after this session, you can call me, then we discuss a lot more. So if I'm rushing you, please pardon me, it's because of what? I'm pressed for time. I've talked about investing in government securities, USTs, commercial papers, and loads of commercial papers now. They are all in their 20s. Flour mills, commercial paper in 20-something. Flour mills will never do that before. But because of the current situation, that's why they've come out to take your money at 20-something. Can we go to the next slide? This is a chart we can look at. I've talked about gold. Next slide. Yeah. This is an ETF called FANG. FANG is the Magnificent Seven. Tesla's, Amazon, Netflix, all of them. Google, that's Alphabet. There's an ETF for them. You can see the chart. So you can imagine if you've invested in USD, you can invest in this. Asking that Tosin, where do I get this? The asset managers, they provide accessibility to the market for this. These investments would hedge not only inflation in Nigeria, would also hedge what? Currency risk. You can begin to do this even for your children. Because what is happening now, Iran, Israel, is very transient. At the end of the day, they will resolve it and we'll move on. But this is a good time for you to begin to look at where to buy it and when to buy it. The same thing with CQQQ. Can we move on? NVIDIA, AI. AI is bigger, trust me, than internet. AI is in fact, I say three, it's more than that, bigger than internet. Let me give you, Sam Altman. Sam Altman is the guy who did OpenAI, right? And Microsoft just bought over. The guy is about to raise $7 trillion. You can imagine someone who is very crazy is raising $7 trillion because he expects that the AI industry, that's where it's going, $7 trillion. Let me put it into context. $7 trillion is more than the capitalization of Apple and Microsoft. Apple and Microsoft both combined is about $5 trillion. So someone wants to raise debt or equity of $7 trillion. You understand that that's where AI is going. NVIDIA sits like the infrastructure company, AI chip manufacturing, the biggest market share for AI. A 3-year-old child cannot use computer to search, but a 3-year-old child can speak to an AI-powered equipment in the house, and the equipment will do everything the 3-year-old child. So that means that you don't need to be in your teenage age to what? To use AI. That is the adoption, the power that AI. For some of us here, if you don't position yourself, when I was talking about acquiring skills, if you don't start acquiring skills, AI will take you out of the market. Life. AI, forget it, is another insane environment. So when you see NVIDIA positioning for themselves for it, you know why we're talking about it. Go to the next slide. UK property. And I'm not talking about buying, and rent. So rental yield in the UK is not it. But buying a land and developing the same way you do JV here. There are some people doing it, and trust me, you can make double digits from that. But you must do it with an asset management firm that has, presence in the UK. UK is landlocked. That means that they will continue to move in terms of property development. Somebody would ask that, Tosin, but with the current situation, interest rate, mortgages, going up, do you think that, UK property is not an interesting place? The truth about it is that UK properties, over the years, 5-10% discounted, the market risk, 5-10%. Outside of that 5-10%, you will still make money. But it must be development, not buying already built houses and put it out for rental. No, development. And you have DFIs out there that can actually lend you against it. There's a structure around this, but you need to work with professionals, to do that. I'm rounding up now. Okay. So here, and I think this is my last page. When exchange rates depreciate, sell currency for speculative reasons. Clearly, you can imagine when it was 1,800. Some of us knew that that was the best time for us to sell the dollars. You know why? Because there was no fundamentals backing it up at 1,800. Few trades were done, but they were jumping by 100 naira every day. So if you had sold at 1,800, the naira that you collected after selling, you put it in treasury bills, you make money. These are signs, but you can only understand these signs if you begin to listen to what is happening in the market. Don't pay attention to the noise and work with a professional. I will leave these slides there for us. If there are questions, you want to ask or probe more, please, you feel free to do that. I think that's the last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Casey. I'm actually not surprised that Tosin was called upon to give this presentation, because it's one of the gurus in our subsector in the finance world. Can you please give me a round of applause for him? And I'm sure you guys have opened your mind, as I said at the beginning of this lecture, or his presentation. There's so much to take in. That's my field, but I'm learning something new again. My mind is opened. So all those vanilla stuff that I thought I'm the master, there's something again that has come out for me to learn and probably go and teach my people as well. So thank you very much, Tosin. I think you should come back to the seat here. We've already introduced you, so we need to introduce you again. So we're very privileged to have some, what would I call them? Gurus in the industry. And I thank the Liberation Church and Men of Honor for putting this together. We have key men in various subsets of the finance industry that are here with us today. And I just called them in so that we can start the session and finish in well enough for you to ask your own questions. There's things that we just thought we should do. Okay, so I see Ronald there. Ronald Nwazeku is the head of treasury of a leading bank, direct global treasury operations, with fellowship from ICANN and CIBN. He holds BSc in Natural Science from Unilag and an MBA from Lagos Business School. He balances a thriving career with fulfilling family life as husband and father to 3 children. Can we give Ronald a round of applause as he comes forward? Ronald is here not to tell us his bank, but we all know. We know him, Abi? And he has wealth of experience to share with us today. I have another guru here. Don't sit down, Sam. Just stand up and just keep coming. Chukwuma Nwaze holds is a financial, he has a fellowship, he's a seasoned board member, transformative leader, and adept business manager with over 2 decades of experience spanning financial control, consumer finance, and strategy formulation. Currently serving as the managing director of Credit Direct Limited, Nigeria's premier consumer lending finance company. He has played a pivotal role in bolstering the firm's market share and financial resilience over the past decade. So please help me welcome Truth. And thank you so much for coming. My name is Funsho Popola. I run and manage Boston Advisory, a boutique investment bank. And I'm one half of the panel, the moderator. My other half is coming. I won't say better half, because we're not that kind of people. Thank you. So, good morning, gentlemen. And thank you, Tosin, again for your presentation. My mind is wide open. My mind is receptive of what you've said, what you presented. But in this hall, we have so many different people, and I know that some of them have taken it, some of them are aspiring to know more. Like you said earlier, you said somewhere in the middle that there are different stratas of investment, and I have a couple of questions that I just have rummaged through, and I want to ask this panel, I think the first one I just want to ask, which you sort of touched on, and you spoke about it also towards the end. We're in a high inflation period, and if you appear that investment opportunities may be on the decline, But if not, what type of investment can anyone invest that is above inflationary rate? I know you've spoken about properties and real estate, but some of us are not there yet, and some of us are just at the physiological level. When you look at the Maslow law, I am a self-actualization. I'm like Dangote. My mind is like Dangote's, but I'm not yet there. So maybe I'm in the self-esteem or just above that. But when they now mess me up with that thing, that slide that says, even if I think I have 50 million, I'm at the bottom. So I'm just amazed that, as I said, that my mind is open. And this is a teaching session for us that think that we are made. We have not even scratched anything. So I want to ask any member of the panel that what investment can we do that is above inflationary rate? I know inflationary rate today is about 24.7. Sorry? 33. Hard to say. Okay, so the MPC is 24. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to take that?
Let's look at it this way. So at 33 points, whatever it is, that is like ultra high, right? I think in my 20 plus years working in Nigeria, probably, I'm not even sure we've seen inflation this high. So in all honesty, in this moment, there are very, very few investment opportunities that can spit out values not of inflationary limits that we see. But one thing I'm certain about, I think in the next 6 to 12 months, we will see a moderation of this high inflation. Well, it's a prayer too, because I cannot imagine a world where it continues like this. This is the advice I give, and so forgive me, my background is in accounting, so I'm an accountant. Accountants are prudent. Tosin is an investment banker. They believe in money doubling. I'll say this because one of the things you will learn, there are different risk appetites when it comes to investment. Tosin's risk, I've known Tosin for maybe 20 years, and his risk appetite is why he's significantly working than me, right? I'm more prudent kind of person. But what I would say for a lot of people, to you guys here, depending on your risk appetite, there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of things are moving topsy-turvy at the moment. My position as an investor is watch. But like Tosin has said during his slides, there are things happening in the equities market, right? If you follow the trend, I like something so I haven't heard that one before. Trend is your friend. You have to spend sufficient time either following the trend or talking to people who understand the trend before putting your money into it. People are going to make money this season. People are also going to lose a lot of money. It's information and getting in at the right time. So how is Trooks doing it? Cash is king to himself. I've always believed that. I always argue that cash is king, Jesus is Lord. That's my whole faith. I keep my money, and as I follow information, I act. Now, one of my principles is when I've made the decision to act, anything I see, I think. But you arm yourself with sufficient information and then you act. One of the things you shouldn't do is be afraid. Even the scriptures say God has given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. So when Tosin started off with talking about mastery, mind, and money, we have a sound mind. Let's arm ourselves with the right information, but let's be cautious. This is not the season to be omniscient, that you know everything. Talk to Tosin knows, for example, I don't make any call, I'll tell him, guy, how do you see this? And then by the time you fraternize ideas, you most likely make the right call. So it's be cautious, but don't be afraid. It's my position.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A round of applause. Thank you.
So my name is Ronald again. So I've been the one sharing on the WhatsApp group some commercial paper investment opportunities that in my fair influence I've seen come up. So but the rates are lower than inflation. So that's like safe haven. Treasury bills, earlier this year, about February, I bought for myself treasury bills at a yield of about 27%. So that's still below inflation. But my mandate is to cut it as close as possible. Those are the safe investments, so they're as close as possible. But really, if you want to beat inflation, it's business. It's actual business that beats inflation rates. So if you're not into the business yourself, you could find a trusted relation or friend that is into business, and you can invest into the person's business and agree the percentage return on the investment. Okay, so for example, I'm also an investor in various businesses. What I do is that when I have someone do a job in my house, so for example, the person that installed my solar system, upon working with this guy for about 5 years and seeing that I could trust him, I engaged and said, okay, I want to invest in your business. And let's agree certain terms. And then the return has been fantastic. So those are outlets you can look out for. People you've worked with for a while, you've grown some level of trust with them. So those are outlooks or opportunities you have. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think for me, first off, you need to be very careful because everybody is hungry for return at the moment. You need to be very careful who gives you what. This is the time that the MMMs will be on the prowl. Inflation is a moving target. Don't chase it. It's a moving target. Don't chase it. Look for an investment vehicle, investment assets, or businesses like Ronald said, that will give you competitive return, maximizing that return over a long time, while inflation will still come down. So don't chase inflation. Don't be in a hurry to want to make quick bucks. There's no shortcut to success. No shortcut. There's a clear path, however, to financial success. You just need to learn, earn, and man it. I can sit down here and give you from federal government bonds to treasury bills to commercial papers what you should invest in. But your psychology of how to make wealth, not like making wealth overnight, like instant noodle, you should cross it out. Otherwise, you are going to fall prey of those guys that are going to take your money from you and scam you. Federal government bond today, even if you have $1 million, you can still buy. If you have 500,000, some people still sell it. Federal government bond today is around 19%, 18-19%. We've never been in this area before. Uncharted territories. If you lock in, maybe you have 20 or 100 million. If you lock it in and you're collecting coupon every 6 months, in the next 5 years, federal government will double your money. You know what that means? Federal government is not AAA. It's the federal government of Nigeria. If you bought at 1920, in 5 years' time, they'll be doubling your money and they'll still be paying you cash coupon. You might think that, which you would have invested. The beautiful thing about federal government bond is that if you're in dear need of cash for your business, you can also use that asset to go and borrow money. You can't, maybe very few people will borrow you money against what? Against your fixed deposit or against your property, because they will tell you that it's not liquid. But the moment you tell a bank or financial institution that you have federal government bond, they will jump at it. So 2 things you've been able to achieve. It's like a double-edged sword. You've locked that money for a long time, especially if you buy the one maturing in 2034. That's 10 years from now. That means the federal government will double your money twice before the expiration of that. And you'll be collecting coupon. When you're in dear need of money for your business, you can go and walk into a bank and say, I need money for my business. The interest they will charge you for that business, you pass it on to the end user. So you've been able to create two assets with the money you have. One asset you've locked federal government in for 10 years. Then the second asset is you've used it to borrow debt, but that debt is not for you to go and marry another wife or marry or take girlfriend. Do you understand? The debt is for you to build another business. You are watching two assets. Liquid assets and your business. In the next 2 years, yields are going to come down. So if you've locked yourself at 19 or 20 and yields come down to 14 or 13%, technically what that means is that your bond has appreciated in value. You could see a top hint of about 15 naira on it, or 20 naira. This has happened before. The people that are buying the federal government bond that will create this wealth for you are the PFAs, the pension fund administrators. They control about 15 trillion in AUM. Most of their money is going to federal government securities. At some point, they'll be buying these bonds from you. You don't need to sell to them there because you are enjoying the cash coming in by way of coupon. So that for me is one area outside of the businesses that you mentioned. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Let me quickly say this because I wouldn't believe we have a diversified audience. So there are some guys who say, hey, which one we coupon, which one is right? So possible. But let me say this. This is a trick I have found to guys who are just pretty much starting off. Tosin said something when he was presenting, and he said that God has given all of us gifts and talents. You know how underrated our gifts are? Because we don't think it's man enough, we don't think it's cool enough. So I'm CEO of a relatively solid organization, right? But I like to cook. There was a time that my jollof rice is probably the best in the world, right? There was a time, just because it was a hobby, I would cook and I was selling a tray, because I was also executive chef now. I was selling a tray of my rice and turkey, 20,000 naira. The only reason why I stopped is that I got so busy and then I couldn't cope with others that were coming in. It was not even a side hustle, it was the side hustle, but it was bringing a lot of money. So when we're talking about, what will give you something bigger, that goes faster than inflation, 9 out of 10 times, it's that natural gifting God has given us that almost costs no capital to start. But we don't think it as solid, it's not cool stuff, it's not technical, it's not CEO, and it's not AI, thank you. But a lot of, and then we think it's not nice, we leave it for our wives or for our fiancés or something like that. The more guys in a seasoned guys like this, look inwards what is natural that God has given you, and that is the true source for what time. It's not cool, it may not be brand and whatever, but you'll get steady cash. I just thought to.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, as you guys have been talking, you know, me, I'm a young lad here. So one of the things that runs my mind is that it's someone that's eating that will invest. You know, someone that has, as you're talking about this, I'm like, it's someone that have job finished, now start investing. So it then brings me to, you know, you said something very important. I think that yeah, it's Pomo has always sold. I know Pomo sellers that have built houses. You will look at the business, you will see goals, and you're like, it's just. But at the same time, you will then understand why UBA is at CMS, because those market people, the transactions they do, if you look close enough, you will see that there's volume, right, in that. I just want to take you guys back to your young days, because now, the experience you have is not that you guys didn't get burnt. right, is that you're talking from a place, because when Mr. Tosin was talking, there's a time he was telling us to not play MMA. You know, I'm like, there has to be experience. Do you understand? Because the way you open it down, you have been talking to, he said, don't try it. So you have been burnt. But I want you guys to talk from a point now. Like, give us an example on a bit of when you fell, right? And how you came up from that. Or even when it started, in 2004, when it was dry season. And if, at that point, if someone was telling you, come and invest, you'd be looking at them and saying, me that I just trekked from Oregon. And telling you to come and invest. You know, like, give us, if you could give an example of,
Thank you, Mr. Let me go first. Okay. I grew up in Michigan, and some of you clearly do not know. I was practically helping my mom. She had a book out there. And I was practically helping her to pound amala. I would take recording, and you have these trucks come, I will offload, the trucks.
now that you have muscle.
But all of that, I was taking a lesson. And to Chuk's point, each and every one of us here, there is a gift inside of us. But for some reason, we've not brought it out. In 2004, when I mentioned that, 2004, something happened. That gift, God would tell you when to ignite it. But if you are igniting that gift, it must be for a purpose. You must go into a covenant with God. God is looking for sergeants, corporals, sergeants, staff sergeants, generals, lieutenants, colonel. God cannot himself do anything he wants to do on earth without men. So, God needs to help you to ignite that talent inside of you with a covenant. And the covenant you must have with him is, as long as you help me with these resources, and he will show you the pathway and the relationships that you need. To your point, in 2004, I just bought an Audi A4, black exterior, cream interior. You never eat in that car. Never. If I pick you up a few minutes, I'm going to park on the road and dust that your leg because I'm feeling uncomfortable. OCD was dealing with me at the time. Pastor Sam Adeyemi says, oh, we are moving to Oregon. For those of you who have anything, please come and deposit. And God says, dude, go and drop that car. I said, it cannot be God. I was sweating. I said, this cannot be God. This was a young boy. Then I was in Kakawa Discount House. They just paid me bonus and everything. I put everything. A4. Bose sound system. In the morning, I was listening 6:30. Everybody in our trashy estate, they would just be, this guy. God said, go and drop it. I said, God, show me a sign. Each and every one of you here, ask God for a sign. He will show you that sign for that talent to come out. So you might see me talking about NVIDIA and everything. There was been a past, there was a history. But you must lock into a covenant with God. We are men of honor here. God wants us to move away from the bottom of the pyramid to get to that peak. For that to happen, there must be a covenant with God. The same way Isaac dealt or fought with God, and God blessed him. In spite of all the challenges he had with the wealth, he was able to conquer all of that. You guys, you are going to experience all of that. If anybody is mentioning big names or big amounts, it's in the mind. Wealth creation, money making. If you are still struggling with 100,000, it's because you've not activated your mind. When I came out of in front of Oregon, our former church in Daystar, I was going to that traffic light, and before you know it, I said a lorry was coming, hit me in front. I did not know. I tried to put it in reverse. I hit the lady at the back. When I came out, there was nothing in front. There was nothing at the back. I laid on the floor. I said, God, you've shown me a sign. I just went, parked the car in church. For 6 months to 1 year, I was hitching rides. I was on Okada. People in Atrashes thought that, oh, maybe you could not afford the car. But when God, you know why they say that When God changed the captivity of Zion, we are like those that drink. Each and every one of you here, God is waiting on you. So yes, and we all had our, little beginning. But there must be a point in time that you must decide yourself that yes, you want to take that in.
Excellent. So, to build on that, I'll start with the Word of God as my starting point towards my journey. Because I recall when I got the word that I should move, change my employer. And at the point I was leaving, my current employer was the highest paying in the industry. And I was moving to a less paying organization. People were like, "Are you mad?" I said, "No, it's a word." And then a couple of years later, the previous employer was taken over by the CBN. And my current employer is one of the top 5 banks in the industry. So the word is very important. Listen to God. Number 2 is get organized. I recall, I said to you, every one of us, we have our with us, right? You all have your phones. I apologize. So I grew up using diaries. Okay, so I have pieces of diaries like that. But ultimately, everything has gotten digitized. So I would encourage every one of us to have certain apps on our phones. The contact app is very common, but what frustrates me is when I call an artisan or someone I've done business with, even an established person, and the person is like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Well, we've done business." And the person, "Sorry, I lost my phone." So please try and get your contacts on the cloud so that if you change device, because it's frustrating when you do business. Sustainable business is memory business. So you always have to show your contacts that you know and you remember them and you value them. So get organized on your phones. The various apps that I recommend you have. Calendar app. Everything that any important appointment you have, please quickly put it in a calendar. So every big man has personal assistant. We can't afford to pay anybody's salaries. So your phone, you can get various apps that will help you. Then there's expense and income tracking app in terms of how much you earn and your expenses to help you to plan. There are various other fantastic apps that you can have. Then, I know many of us, I saw many young people here. I'm sure that you all have various, what's this one that the CEO or one of the executives is pulling off in Abuja right now? You all have those various apps on your phones where you can invest. I recommend that the first thing you do is, before you put in money, find out how you can get out money from the app. First step, there will be settings that you will put in terms of accounts to receive, your Nigeria account to receive monies back. Set that one up first. Make sure it's working before you put in money. Because a lot of people rush and put in money, but they don't know how to get out the money. That's a very big no. Then don't do leveraging on those apps. Don't do leverage. Leverage is when you get greedy and you're like, okay, when there's gain, when prices go up, the gain you make is ×2 or ×3, ×4. You leverage your gain. When it goes in the opposite direction, your money can disappear. So once you put leverage, you've told the app developers, you are betting against them. And when you do gambling, you know what they say now, the house always wins. So your money can go to 0. But when you don't do leverage, you can never lose your principal. It can reduce, but when market generally, over a period of time, market will tend to go up. And then you get your principal back and make some income. So never do leverage. So it's not like I was born like that too. But that is one I'll give you guys. Then, final one is mentorship. Please get someone you admire in the industry around you, and let that person know that you want to be a disciple, you want to understudy, you want to learn. So it's tied to all the books that we have to see really now, telling us to go and read. You know, some of these mentors will download it into your head for free with life experiences, and then when you want to make certain decisions, you call them and say, uncle, auntie, this is what I want to do, what do you think? They will guide you appropriately. So that has helped me in the course of my development.
Let me say this, right? If you're going to be in business, or part of the art of making money is losing money. I mean, I don't know any of the guys who would. Business involves making and losing money. What makes you more successful is if you make more than you lose. Now, it's our prayer every day that nothing goes wrong. But part of what makes you a CEO or you have directors is that you're dealing with issues that come up every day. The principle is that never stay on the floor when things are down, right? I mean, Tosin touched on the story of Joseph, that it was what made Joseph a celebrity was during the period of famine. The whole world came to Egypt, but those guys were also in famine. It was a season, and since that time till tomorrow, there's a chart Tosin showed. It's always cyclical. There will be periods of depression, but it will come back again. It's what happens to you when things are down that determines how long you're going to stay down. In my own life, I've made money, lost money, but I try to pick a lesson every time money is lost. You know, the guys have spoken about greed. It's in the mind, though. No, there's no two way about it. I'm not even talking about you saying, you know, like power of positive confession. You must have the ability, you know, there is greed. Bible says that if you say that a man diligent in his ways, he will stand before it. You know, the word diligence is not just saying diligence. It's a guy who is going at it. He's habitual. He's reading. He's asking questions. He's trying to do what he did yesterday better. He's demanding excellence in execution from these guys. Those things you can't pray out. That's why the truth is that there are many guys who are talking who have made it in life. There are so many atheists who have made it and will continue to make it because the principles are somewhat universal, right? You have to, in those periods when things are funny and possibly some guys are going through it now, it's not the end of the world. There will be sunshine soon, but the state of your mind is what will help you come out faster. And some guys don't have the courage, or some guys feel very defeated when things are down. If you're going to get to those things, I don't want that, 10 to 100 million. You know, it's complex. When I get home, I'll deal with my self-depression. But if you're going to get to that level, one thing is certain. You can't stay on floor. I know there was this, when I was growing up, there was a song my dad used to make us sing, that he that is down, this fear no fall. So, when that time comes, you know the only way out is up. And you know, I'll quickly say this before I drop the mic. The advantage we have as Christians is that we have the Holy Spirit, right? The Holy Spirit is there to, the Bible says He will teach us all truth, right? I always argue that even in moments where you've gotten a leading and you didn't in that moment follow it, God is not unfaithful to leave you to fail for the rest of your life. But we must all get to that point where we can rebound and keep moving. You must learn to rebound and keep moving. I say this because for very many people, business is smooth and it's smooth for very many years. But that's not the narrative for everyone. So what do you do when it's down? Well, when things are down, deal with the issues, identify because there'll be lessons to be learned, identify what you can do better, rebound and keep moving. If you stay on the floor, you will remain there. I argue that backsliding is not when you are going back. Sometimes it's you staying on the same spot while everybody else moving forward. So let's never get to the point where failures or low moments overtake our minds. You know, when Bible talks about spiritual warfare, if you read those scriptures diligently, you see that it's talking about the mind. I mean, wild switches and wizards, you know how we are in Africa. But a lot of it is down in the mind. So guard your minds. Deal with the issues that have maybe where you've made a mistake. I remember one time I was oil and gas. I made a wrong pricing decision. It cost my business at the time of 2006. It probably cost us 300 million. I was lucky I wasn't sacked. But you see, after that event, the accountant in me plus the lesson learned, the level of meticulousness that it brought to me, right? So I took what was a bad near career defining moment, but I've used it to build myself ever since then. And my career has never had that level of threat before. So things will happen, but you know you have God, you have the Holy Spirit. Make mistakes if you do, but always know you can rebound and keep moving.
Thank you very much. Just, I hope we are getting our questions ready because, you know, the nuggets of wisdom that come from this side has been enormous. I know there have been questions that have been staying in our mind. So if we don't even ask questions from here, the wisdom that has come out from here has been agitating our mind. But just one more question before we go. 40 minutes cannot cut this session, but you know, it is what it is. Well, just one more question, and because of the sign of the time that we're in now, and they're talking about various risk appetite, we're talking about portfolio, and I'm thinking of portfolio diversification in the time that we're in, and it relates to the gains. I won't call it gain, but I'll tell you the situation we're in. Nigeria is dependent on FX. You know, and this question is actually for Rona because of the business he does, so that we don't waste time. And I keep agitating in my mind that we're in a session or in a regime or a period where the foreign exchange play is to everybody's mind now. Even the market will say, oh, in Yoruba, dollar, and I'm thinking goods coming from Boko to Lagos. They are saying dollar, maybe the petrol, maybe, yes, okay. But I'm not looking at it from an investment point of view. That, to some extent in my mind, I'm saying to myself that, can we play the FX market as another way of diversifying our portfolio? Tosi has mentioned USD, benchmark against USD. But what I'm thinking about is actually arbitraging. And I say to myself that, okay, dollar has been coming from 1,009 is now 1,100 or thereabout. And we are saying, and we believe that if you follow the market says that results might likely go down eventually at one point. So, if I have money today, and I'm buying low at say 1,001, and I believe that somewhere along the line, it should go back to 1,005, can I play that market? And I'm sure everybody's probably thinking like that. In our small volumes, in our large volumes, you know, things like that. We are not doing the equities, we're not doing the CPs, we're not going to choose to borrow money from the micro lending platform and co. And you said also that we invest in people's businesses. So that is almost like zero cost of capital for that guy because you have invested this money that if you had gone to a bank or you had gone to Jukes, you would have been collecting an interest rate. So you're giving him free money really, but he's getting you, technically, he's giving you some return.
His cash flow is not under pressure.
Yes, that's the real thing. His cash flow is not under pressure. So yes, so you've helped him expand his business. So can I play that market?
Okay, so let me start off by, this is a church, right? Mm-hmm. So that foundation of ethics. I would say no. We can't play the FX markets in the context of the question, which is speculation and trying to gain the volatility. I would rather say you can play it in the context of what Tosin had presented earlier, which is long-term investments. And just an investment, not for speculation. So you can diversify into FX for investments for a long-term need, okay, for retirement, for your children, for various assets, you can do that, but not for speculation, because for speculation, it's economic sabotage. You are assisting to destroy the nation. And for me, I've seen that there are alternatives to FX, particularly if you have a mindset that you are here, you are in Nigeria, but if you perceive that at some point you want to relocate, then you might want to begin to shift the ratio of your investments in favor of USD and then less in favor of NAIRA. And the example he gave in terms of children's education, that will be another reason. But if your mindset is that we die here, I think property is more superior. It's superior to FX. The value of my property in terms of, nuggets of property has appreciated far higher than the dollar, and it tends to move in context. So dollar depreciates. The builders are like, oh, the cost of importing this has gone up. The value of property has gone up. So it moves. It's a positive correlation kind of asset. But just avoid the coastline, Sha. That's it.
Thank you very much. So we come to the end of this session, and deliberately we didn't ask too many questions so that they can pour out themselves onto us, to open our minds, to agitate our minds, so that we can have sizable number of questions to read out to them, as it affects us individually. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for bringing yourself out to us, and bringing yourself out to us. So, now time for questions and answers. Can you please, I don't know how it's going to go.
Hello?
But, okay.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you. Hold on.
Okay, so we don't have so much time, so we can take 5 very good questions. So, 5 questions that you think can cover a broad range, and then we still have opportunity that our faculty is still around, so you can still interact with them. But we want 5 beautiful questions straight to the point. We want to thank all the speakers for everything that they have said. Now thank them for me. Don't thank them again. Alright, so let's do it. So you are number 1. You are number 1. Okay. Lawyer, your own will 2, you are 3. So okay. So 4 and sorry, you are 4. And then you are 5. 5. So you people are many. So 1, you are 2, 3, 4, 5. And then maybe if you have enough time, you can take 1 gentleman. Alright.
If you ask a related question, then there's no need for someone else to say the same question again. So,
good morning, everyone. Thank you, gentlemen. So very quickly, Mr. Chukuma, it's a quick one for you. There are apps these days, Rise, Piggyvest, and all of them. So the apps versus brick and mortar. That's just my 2 questions to you. Mr. Roland, I want to appreciate you for the information about the commercial papers that I released on Monday. I went to my asset manager firm and find out more about the Dangote sugar thing. It was mind-blowing. I missed it, but I won't miss the next one. Thank you. Mr. Tosi, so the main question, you said cash. Where are we going to put that cash? Am I meant to leave my dollars in the DOM account, my NAIRA in my NAIRA account, or is it near cash instruments that I should put this cash? Because the same cash is king. Where are we going to put this cash? Thank you.
Okay, another. What the Lord has done for you, man?
Okay, thank you. My questions are 2 and they are straight to the point. First, speculation is not good. If you open your social media, people are speculating for you.
and they make you feel like your naira is devalued, is losing value. There was real fear when this thing was climbing to 2,000. And I felt that as a prudent businessman, it would be unwise for you to leave your money in a currency that is continuously failing. So it really made sense from every sense of judgment to change your money to USD at the time. Now a lot of people bought USD with their naira at the time to rescue it at the rate of 1,600 to some 1,700. Today is 1,100 or thereabouts. Right? So we really can't blame people for speculating at the time. Now they're falling into the trap. You say they should stop speculating now, or they should just accept their loss and move on. That's my first question.
One A.
Okay, 1A. 1B. Alternative to USD. They actually connected. Alternative to USD, you suggested that's Mr. Roland, that people should invest in real estate or property. But I know that if you invest in property, there is a challenge with liquidation when you leave your money. If I have my money in USD, I have just maybe at most 1 hour to liquidate. But for property, I can't liquidate. If I'm under pressure to liquidate, I may sell at undervalue. Right? So how do you manage that kind of situation when you need liquidity after investing in property?
Thank you very much.
So who's going to
So we have 2 questions here, right? Yeah, 2 questions.
Okay, I think your question is across.
Yeah, across board.
Okay, so let me help you with that. First of all, it's one of the points I have here, that every single one of your accounts, try and negotiate an interest on it. Because with your bank, you can get interest on your current account. On your call accounts, call has a default, savings has interest, but most banks have a caveat about the savings. You withdraw more than a certain number of times, you lose interest on savings, right? So what you can do about, and then many banks also have special products where you earn interest given that you meet certain covenants, then you earn interest. So what you should do is that even on DOM, your DOM, you can negotiate interest. Your DOM should never sit without earning anything. Move it into time deposits. Yes. Banks give time debt for dollars. Yes. So Monday, just go and do it. The interest rate might be low, 0.something%, 1%, but if you've done it like a year earlier, just imagine how much more dollars you will have. So every single account you have, try and negotiate interest on it, no matter how small. Move, like me, once I get my pay, I move from, my pay comes into my current account, I move it straight into my savings. I have various accounts that I spend from, so just that my savings, I never spend more than 4 times from it in a month. So I always get my interest. And now, interest on savings, thanks to MPC or MPR, is about 7.45%. So that's some good stuff. So that's what I will answer you on that. Try and negotiate something. Then let me quickly add on the collateral. Once you collateralize your loan, negotiate a lower interest rate on your loan. Because the bank is obliged to give you a lower rate because your risk is near zero.
Diminished.
Your risk is near zero, so negotiate. So you know the tricks about negotiation now. You first ask the rates as if it's normal. So you have that anchor. And then from there, you now say, but this is collateralized. So I need 5% lower, and start to negotiate. So it cuts your cost. Now, with respect to property, it's tied to the collateral. Your property is long term. If you need quick money, you can go and take a loan off the property, raise quick liquidity, and then pay back on that. You still have your property. So you can, easily take a loan off the property as collateral. That's one way to do about it. But of course, all these things is tied to cash management or cash flow management. So if you know that you don't have long-term money, don't buy property. So that's that. Then the last one you asked in respect to speculation. You know, it's the speculative spirit that made you go and buy at 1,008. Yeah, you wanted to quickly hedge, you now want to. No, but again, it's tied to what we heard earlier in the presentation in terms of following the market and listening. If you are listening, you know that, okay, for me, the 1,008 is a mistake by this and me in how it started. As a market practitioner, the admin started in a way that many of us will not start businesses. You first plan, you understudy, you do feasibility study, you get your backbone, that is your staff in place, you give them their various responsibilities, and then you begin to make policy pronouncements. But we had policy pronouncements on day one, before even entering the office, to see how the office even looks. And then you had another level of policy shift with a central bank that was being chased up and down by EFCC, that they were on their way out. You now said you unify the effects. Then the new CBN now came by September and was trying to understand the situation and took from September to February to have the first meeting of MPC. You get? So if you understood all this, you would know that, oh, this 1,000, just like he said, 1,008 wasn't, there's no fundamental. So it's still tied to putting your head down to read the market, to call mentors and ask questions. You won't have bought at 1.8. But if you want to buy now, you're not buying for speculation, you're buying that you want to keep for long term. Alright, so thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next question.
Okay.
What is Lord has done for you?
So my question is to all our panelists. Right? Everyone has spoken about risk appetite, portfolio construction, diversification, and all that. And I understand that what we've discussed so far is more like from this point in time. Now, I want us, and I believe maybe a number of us in the audience have this question in mind too. I want us to benefit from your hindsight. So given the experience you now have and all you know with the present economic realities, if you were to go back in time and maybe restart your financial journey, how would you go about constructing your financial portfolio of assets down to where we are right now, given the current economic realities? Thank you.
Joseph, can you take that, please?
I think the first thing you need to do as you start out, maybe let's put it into context, maybe you're just out of school. Your risk appetite at that time is moderate. Moderate in the sense that it depends on the cash that you have available to you. Financial success is a gradual process. I've always said that. So you start out by buying government securities. Okay, you want to start out with 100K, 1 million. Two things that would achieve for you: stability and gradual return on your investment. They said the eighth wonder of the world is the compound interest. You need to learn that and be disciplined with that. So as you gather these and you acquire more wealth or money, you move into the next category, in my view. The next category after, and when I say government securities, I put fixed deposit, all of those into the same bucket, and investment in in local equities. And maybe you start delving into US equities as well. Changing some of your salaries into NAIRA. into dollars, and invest in US equities. You could buy maybe like $1,000 or $500. From what you've asked, that means that you are gradually building your wealth. So as you start out from school, those are the things, if I were to look back, those are the things I would do. That's number one. Number two, networking. I do self-audits and people audit a lot. There are loads of people in our circle that you need to begin to audit and take them out. They drag you down. They kill your giftings and your dreams. You need to surround yourself with people that will inspire you. You know what they say, that if you are the brightest in a room, you are in the wrong room. Every year at the beginning, January, I do people audits. I begin to check out people that I don't need. They are taking money away from me, or taking resources away from me, or they are withdrawing from my emotional bank account. If you've read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you would hear about EBA, emotional bank account. The people that are sucking resources, and when I say resources, I'm not talking about financial resources, even conversations. Some of you are in a WhatsApp group that you ask yourself, what am I really benefiting from this? Ronald was talking about mentorship. If I had certain categories of people when I was growing up, or when I started school, I would be way ahead. Some of us, we don't invest in relationship. Investment in relationship is a massive opportunity. You know why? It's from those relationships that you will hear of wonderful ideas on opportunities that you've never seen. It's not going to be written on the papers. So, from buying those instruments and investing into those instruments, you complement it with what? Networking. Then you move to the next level. The next level is investment in another class. For me, again, your question is, how would I have done it? I'll move into properties. I'm taking more risk. From fixed deposits to US and local equities to government securities, now I have more money. I'm moving to what? Properties. From properties, I move into private businesses. From those private businesses, there are businesses with fundamentals, good fundamentals out there. So you can see the category. You're taking a less risk, you move into property, higher risk, investment in companies, that is another level of risk. That will protect your wealth, will create wealth for you for a long time.
How about angel investment?
Angel investment is the same thing. I said investment in because what happens is investment in those private companies. You will learn from them. You'll be part of it. You will create a vehicle that will churn out money. In fact, when those monies are coming as in passive income, you can now go back and go and invest in government securities or invest in, in properties. But that particular, category or sequence is very important. 5 years or 10 years after graduation from school, you should have built enough wealth to move into property. Another 5 years from property, you begin to move into what? Investment in businesses. You know why? When you start investing in those businesses, your experiences in where you've worked, the relationships you've gathered, when you are investing in those private companies, the kind of question you'll be asking as an angel investor is different from when you just started school. You will take them to the cleaners. You tell them, in fact, you tell them that they need to set up good corporate governance, that you want to be on the board, because you are injecting your money into it. You will tell them they don't have enough good fundamentals to sustain whatever they are projecting to you. You also tell them that what is your unique selling point, or you just want to be everywhere, just like everybody is doing. Everybody is now into payment services, right? Some of the businesses we've invested in, there's a particular business, fiber to home. All they're doing is infrastructure. But that infrastructure that federal government had refused, or they are inadequate, or they don't have the capacity to provide for us, that fiber to home is money making for the next foreseeable future. You know why? I was saying to someone, if you just get an apartment, when I was growing up in Papa Gaomushi, if I got an apartment there, I'll use a key to open a lock, right? Today is automation. your fingerprint. Every one of us here, if you want to move into a new apartment, you want all the apartment to be automated. Adoption of automation of your homes are on positive trajectory. And all of that sits on what? Fiber. So we're talking about AI. AI will sit on what? Internet. On Wi-Fi. So you can imagine if you invest in a company that already have infrastructure, fiber on the ground. Google may want all of them are depositing their cables here in Nigeria. But you are helping with distribution into the homes. That's one business.
Thank you very much.
There's so many other businesses.
So, this will be the last question. How many questions do you have? One question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very insightful so far. My question is sort of tied to his. So it's basically around the young people here, or the younger people here, people who are, who want to get married, who want to buy cars, rent property, and then maybe in due time buy a house. How do you start if maybe you're starting from zero? I know it's sort of what you talked about, Mr. Tosin, but for people like us who want to get married, who want to start life, choosing a partner, and following God at the same time, trying to look left, right, up, all at the same time, how do we go about that, especially in this inflation, in this very almost God-forsaken economy that we're in?
All right. Okay, thank you. I'm bringing that question, by the way. I think the first thing is, let us create a habit where we save. A lot of things, I'm just in touch on this during this presentation, a lot of the expenditure we make is for vibes, is to feel cool. Trust me, if we deal with the essentials, wealth creation has a time trajectory to it. It doesn't happen overnight, right? So let's start by saving and putting money aside. Those savings create a liquidity portfolio that takes you into that level of investing. You see, if we can deal with our societal expectation challenges we have, especially in this part of the world, a lot of the young people will be, in 10 years, wealthier than we are. So if you're thinking that, I have to buy a car because every guy in my age bracket is buying a car, the question is, a car is a wasting asset. It helps with mobility and things like that. It's a cool vibe to have, but that is capital, or that is cash flow that can be used to generate stuff. I give an example, and I tell this to my staff. Every time I have a salary increase, I never touch that money. Because that salary increase was not the original plan, it wasn't my original contract. So if my pay goes up by 200K, for example, I take that 200K and I trade into something else, right? Very many a time, we like to save after we have spent. Let us save first and spend next. If we do that, over time you would have sufficient liquidity to take this shot. Now, just like Tosin, there's nothing posh about my life. I've come from the street of the streets of the streets, right? No backing. My father, great guy, he didn't leave me an inheritance. Those kind of situations. So it's like we are hustling from the beginning. And I remember saving my first 1 million. But after a while, you can add up, you can add up, you can add up. I'll say this to the very young guys. I don't know, but my organs are also here, so I have to be careful. I never believed in one income stream. 24 hours in a day is great. It's a lot of time to do a lot of stuff. So young guys shouldn't sit down and say, one income stream. There's so much you can do every day that generates income. From that passive income, from that other hustle, keep it together. In no time, it adds up. If you deal with the temptation to spend, all my guys are going for summer, all those little bad behavior, if we deal with it in 5 years, a lot of us will be. Now, this is in no way saying live a broke, sad life. No, I'll give you an example, and I give this as guidance. I always allocate certain portions of my earnings to certain things in life. So if I'm earning 10 million naira a year, I have no business living in Lekki. where maybe the average rent for a 1 bedroom or whatever is 4 million naira. And a lot of our guys find themselves in such situations because the island is cool. I don't want to live in a better, right? But I will match at every stage in my life. I've always matched my resources to what I spend. If you do that, you'll find out that you're saving a whole lot more, and then you'll be looking at your contemporaries, and it looks like you're doing better than them. No, it's down to the quality of decisions you're taking. If you take your eyes away from what people think or what people will say, in 10 years you'll be significantly different from them. Another point is, look for your guys and challenge yourselves to do something. Now, I've known Tosin for 20 years. Tosin and I have done a lot of things together. Even now, I can't catch up to his capital situation these days. But it's a good employee, he still drags me along. The time where I'm a Man U fan, heartbreaking, so I do everything that is normal for every guy. But you see, these are my friends, right? Tosin will call you and say, hey, you this silly boy, you haven't talked about anything that will make money. And so it makes me sit down. We will cry because we are both Man U fans. We will cry about Man U's loss or Man U's position on the table, but we will always talk about making money. And I've known Tosin for 20 years or thereabout, and since 20 years, we've been like that. So look for your friends. Instead of talking about the things that don't add value, start discussing money making. See, this money thing, I always say it, money solves a lot of problems. It even gives you peace of mind, let's be honest. Right? So have conversations that help you grow that wealth. Cut down the frivolities. There will be time to chop life. When your earnings, the interest on your interest is enough to give you all the fine things of life. And you get to a stage where you don't even know what to do with money. You see Tosin? He's eating vegetables every day. His food is probably 5,000 naira after the money he has made. He's running up and down like they're chasing him because he doesn't want to die. He wants to live forever. So he's keeping fit. He's not drinking all the things you want to spend money. After a while, you just realize that, okay, what do we even need all this money for? That's a good place to be. So start with that mindset. You will save a whole lot, and then you build wealth, and then you do a lot of things.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just one last question. Someone has one last question for you. 1 minute. Response, 1 minute before we are kind of.
Good morning, everyone. Initially, I wanted to respond to Ronald's submission that saving money in dollars is unethical to the extent that it is a self-preservation measure in Nigeria. You just have to do it, you don't have a choice. Because when survival instinct comes to play, then you have to save yourself first. But let me also ask a question, probably any of the panelists could answer, about setting investment goals. And I speak to this fact because when I started investing, I didn't know exactly what to do with the profits on those investments. And so I painted the town red. I went there. There's nowhere that wasn't worth going to that I didn't go to. And then I lost that initial investment because the business folded up and all of that. And then I then began to know exactly what to do with the money when the money was not available. And I began to wish if I have the money that I had, just because I didn't have an investment goal. But I think it might benefit someone if we talk about setting short-term and long-term investment goals as opposed to them, to possibly somebody can address it. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 minute. 1 minute, please.
First of all, let me address the issue of what Ronald said. This comes to listening. Part of communication is, you send the info, the person hears, they try and get feedback from the person to be sure that what you said is the person's understanding. So I clearly said you can invest in USD as an investment asset for long term, but not for speculative purposes. That's the short-term gains. I started off by saying we're in a church. Okay, so yeah. So I would let them answer, but since I'm speaking, short-term investment goals and then long-term. For me, for long-term, it's to get to a point where your investments are spitting out cash flows that cover your living expense. So you can determine it for now and say, okay, in a month, my living expense, feeding, energy, everything comes to say 5 million a month. Then you work out a rate, a discount factor, a rate that over a long period of time, it's like the average rate you can get in the market. So right now, rates are crazily high. Okay, so you can get 25, 27% now, but on average, it comes to about 10, 11% rates. So what is that size of asset that will give me 5 million per month at 10% interest rates? So you work towards that as your long-term goal. So we get that kind of size, and you know that when you stop working, those cash flows will be coming and help you to be.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Please let's put our hands together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I think this brings us to the end of the panel session.
Thank you so much.
This has been a very great time of learning and relearning. Please let's put our hands together for our host, Reverend Shonikola, Teresa, and for our panelists. You're welcome. So they're just taking a picture. I'm here, I'm the one speaking. Hi. I believe we've had a very informative session so far.
Before we close the session, I just want to bring up our sponsoring pastor, is the resident pastor of PCC. This Lekki, PCC Lekki is what we call it. Some of us are not Elevation members. So please, would you help me appreciate Pastor Debo Omotsube as he comes up just to share briefly with us before we close this morning.
Praise the Lord. I'm obviously looking for rest. We just concluded the wedding. And I'm not here to sermonize or anything. I actually desired to be part of the experience before, just because of the way my schedule was already laid out. It's quite difficult for sitting. But I can see that because there's a lot of value for this. And I just wanted to do something I appreciate all the executive. Thank you so much for men's strategy. We have a vision for men of elevation, even men outside the elevation. The elevation church is positioned to be a family that resources its members and also resources people, even outside the family. Our assignment is to make witness common, to facilitate discovery, development, and deployment of our gifts and our graces. And one of the things we have realized is that we need to be able to create clusters of people around different demographics, different areas of interest, and facilitate conversation that can accelerate the rate of empowerment of our capacity to impact our work. We realize that the community of men in the business can leverage our connection to others and sharpen one another. The reality is there's room for so much more to happen within the men's community. Oh, you're not able to hear the word. Praise God. Is this better? Yes, sir. Awesome. Okay. So there's room for so much more to happen within the community of men within the elevation church. When I articulated a couple of years ago the vision or the 4-point agenda, if you want to call it, for the men of honor of the elevation church. And I just want to read this out to you so you know what we are seeking to achieve as a community of men. First is spiritual growth. We believe that the men of honor community can facilitate the discipling of men in small groups to foster spiritual growth and drive accountability. We believe that the community of men within the Elevation Church to strengthen the family, help men to rise to the occasion as priests, as faithful husbands, and responsible fathers in their homes. We believe that this fellowship can ignite and support the fulfillment of the call of God on men's lives. Many men are not really at the very center of God's will and purpose for their lives. And we believe that through this fellowship we can ignite and support the fulfillment of the call of God upon our lives, whatever may stand as a barrier, whatever may be the unresolved obstacles to our being able to do that. We believe that within the men's fellowship make that happen, both within and outside the church. And finally, we believe that this community is meant to be a place of empowerment and networking. The men's fellowship is supposed to facilitate the empowerment and networking to enable our men succeed in their chosen endeavors as part of our commitment to making greatness common. This year, we realized that so much is happening in our world, and it's impacting men in different ways. And I'm sure many of us recall that we answered a question here a couple of weeks ago. We analyzed the responses. We are coming up with initiatives that we believe are tailor-made for this season. And we intend to do a lot of that in partnership with the men's fellowship so that we can be poised or positioned to respond to genuine areas of need, areas where men need to be supported and encouraged, where men need to be empowered. And so I want you to be on the lookout for more of these kind of events in the weeks and months ahead. We also want you not only to show up to attend, but also to let us know how available you can be to join the team of men who are the engine behind this fellowship, so that we can actually do a lot more. The reality is that if we have a lot more men engaged, we'll be able to do a lot more, a lot faster. Praise God. We believe that it is not advantageous for us in any way to sit as individuals in our various services, global service to attend, or various locations within Lagos, and not be able to leverage the fact that we have such rich resources around us that we're not even able to identify or locate, and therefore explore the possibility of a friendship, explore the possibility of some kind of mentorship, explore the possibility of even a business relationship, explore the possibility of exchange of value. When we come together like this, those possibilities open up, and that's really where the magic happens. Praise God. So I hope today that you've been able to meet someone who you probably have never interacted with before, and that the conversations will go beyond this meeting. I hope also that we can successfully begin to create opportunities to meet even in small groups and take such conversations further. I was just speaking with someone at the back before I came forward, and I was saying to me that this kind of conversation are the type that he would also love to contribute to, and I know he has capacity to contribute to. So I want to use this opportunity to pray your indulgence that we will expect that every single one of us will take a step to better and further engage with the Men of Honor community within the Elevation Church, and help us to build a very vibrant community of men. Can I tell you the truth? The women are way ahead of us. I'm sure you know. The Jewels Ministry, they are doing amazing stuff. As I speak now, the executives are somewhere in Ibadan, I think IT, they are having a strategy session, trying to put together a robust plan for the future of the women's ministry of the Elevation Church. We're not in competition. Not at all. I tease them at times and say, yeah, the jewels, we're the jewel owners. But the reality is, we should be inspired by what they are doing. Awesome ways women are empowered. Amazing things that happen within the jewels community of the Elevation Church. And if we were not too sure about the idea of such homogeneous population, we are already seeing the effect, and we should be able to leverage it much more as men. So I'm here to just really encourage that it's time for us to step out of our comfort zone as a community of men, and let's make awesomeness happen. Let's create opportunities for the Holy Spirit to do so much more within our midst, and I'm sure that we are all going to be better for it. Thank you all for coming today. Such a joy to see you, and I look forward to engaging with you Sunday and subsequent men's fellowship events. Please help me welcome.
All right, I want to invite the panelists to take a picture with Pastor Debo. And the moderators as well. The panelists, the moderators.
I see some women of honor. And someone at the back as well. Please let me appreciate that. It takes a lot of courage to show up at the next event.
Hello? All right. Okay, so as is our usual tradition at Elevation Tech, we call ourselves. We usually close with our closing charge. So can I ask that we all rise? It's from Psalm 1, verses 1 to 3. Usually we'll display it, but I think most of us will know it. So can we say that together? Blessed am I, for I walk not in the counsel, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. For my delight is in the word of the Lord, and in his word I meditate day and night. I am like a tree planted by the rivers of water. I bring forth my fruits in my own season. My leaves also will not wither, and whatsoever I do prospers. All right, just one more thing before we leave. You can join the Men of Honor community by scanning the QR code on the screen. Right? Can we bring the QR code? Yes, that's the quickest way to join our community. It's a community. Once you join, you'll be abreast of all our events. We have a marketplace where you can share what you do. If you're an entrepreneur, you run a business. We have a community chat place where we discuss topical things. So there are many benefits for joining the community.